Hey, 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 happy Monday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by thegaminggang.com. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Monday, April 12th, 2021. This is live stream number 646. This is your first time joining me, let me point out, normally what we do on the show is I share some of the latest tabletop gaming news, we get chat going, and I always have an unboxing for a new board game, or we do a page through for a role-playing game, or maybe a miniatures game. Anyway, so we get a first look at a game, and I share the latest in tabletop gaming news. So tonight, I am actually going to unbox and take first looks at two, count them, expansions for Warchest from AEG. I'm going to take a look at Nobility, which is already out. It is out in stores. This has been out for a while. I think it's been out for a few months. And the upcoming Siege. So we've got new units. We've got new rules. I think we've got some new wrinkles in play as well with these two expansions. So also want to mention, if you are a longtime viewer, thank you once again for hanging out with me, wasting an hour or so of your time with this knucklehead as I just ramble on. Always appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Of course, if you like this video, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my recent review of Osric version 2.2 from the First Edition Society. So that went up yesterday. I was going to say later in the evening. I almost said late night. It wasn't late night, but it was later in the evening. Last night is when that video went live. Also should mention, if you are at all interested in the new Dune Adventures in the Imperium role-playing game from Modifius Entertainment, by all means, swing by thegaminggang.com, because Sammy did a review of it. So that was a really fast turnaround. So Sammy's review is up. So if you want to check out her thoughts about Dune, by all means, give it a peek. Intriguing, I have to say. And I think she brings up some good points in the review as well. So very, very nice. Of course, when you're not watching videos here on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to be visiting thegaminggang.com, because you'll find the latest news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You'll find things that I don't talk about on the show. And of course, we've got Sammy's reviews, which are based on PDFs. So you're missing out on those if you don't visit, if you're just getting all your inside dope from the live streams. And of course, this is, speaking of a live stream, this is a live stream. So that means chat is available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, or maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, please chime in. I will do my best to respond. So far, Sarah D was first out the gate tonight saying howdy. A great day is with us. So is the madman. W Forge is here with us as well. So welcome aboard, everybody. Happy Monday. So I got a good amount of news tonight, a little more news than usual, because I don't think the unboxings of these two expansions are going to take too much time. So I tossed in an extra news piece. So let's jump on into it, because there's an interesting looking heist game that's supposed to be hitting stores this month. It's from Explore 8. Here's the details about The Specialists. 7 heists to become a legendary gang. The challenge of a lifetime. Prepare your plan and your equipment. Watch the location that you want to rob. Recruit skilled specialists and be ready for anything. Use your specialists to make a fortune while staying one step ahead of the rival gangs. Perform heists all around the world, but don't forget the golden rule: never rob twice in the same city. Now it's time to roll the dice. A seemingly simple action, such as choosing one die from a small common pool, becomes surprisingly multifaceted here. One die, only one die per round, and a maximum of 12 rounds available to create the perfect gang of specialists to perform 7 heists. Each specialist requires one die to be recruited and one die to be activated. Obviously, you would like to recruit one specialist per round, because only having a large gang can make the most profitable heists. You would also like to activate him or her, because she or he will provide you with the necessary equipment. But at the beginning of each round, you'll get that one single die. You'll therefore need to be able to recover other dice from bonuses or through the same effects of the specialists you've recruited. Ah, yes, the specialists. If you have many with the same competence, you can get very powerful activations and unlock unique skills. But it'll be hard to perform the heists because very different skills are required in each city. If, on the other hand, your gang is varied, you'll have easier access to different casinos, banks, or jewelry stores. But will the weaker activations be enough to provide you with dice, equipment, and anything you need for the next rounds? Finally, remember that you're not alone at the table and the other gangs are not sitting back. Which die do you choose? How do you create the best gang? Differentiate or specialize? Spend the dice or keep them for later? Behind a system of relatively simple rules, there are deep choices that require a good dose of strategy and planning and the ability to face unforeseen situations. Because the dice, when thrown, do what they want. Finally, the most difficult challenge, the solo version, in which you have to deal with the possibility of being discovered by Interpol or defeated by other gangs before the game is over, is also included. The Specialist is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in 30 to 75 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of 45 euros when it arrives at the end of April. Got to point out, I did not see a US dollar amount MSRP for the Specialists. So it is possible that we'll see a $45 MSRP, because sometimes we do see that exchange. We see that basically euros and dollars equally 1-to-1. But then sometimes some companies, we will see a different exchange rate where the dollars are actually more than the euros. So, I mean, this is possible. This could carry an MSRP of $49.99, something like that. I don't know. I got to be honest. All I know is the 45 euros is the MSRP. This looks kind of interesting. It's a kind of a dice placement game. It's got some decent artwork. It looks like there's quite a bit to it as well. So I thought I would share this information from Explore 8, who I got to admit, I am not familiar with. I had not heard of them before doing this news piece. All right, let's move on to the next news item, because getting ready to wrap up a very successful Kickstarter run is 1815 Scum of the Earth, the Battle of Waterloo card game. And here's the dope from All or Nothing Productions. The third in the historic epic battle system series of games. Relive the legendary Battle of Waterloo. It's the 18th of June, 1815. Napoleon Bonaparte is determined to rise back to power and claim all of Europe as his prize, but is stopped in his tracks by the might of the forces led by an unassuming yet undefeated Arthur Wellesley and the charismatic Prussian ally Blucher. 1815, Scum of the Earth is an asymmetric cooperative tactical card game and successor to the award-winning 1066, Tears to Many Mothers, and 1565, St. Elmo's Pay, in which it's fully compatible. Each player, as either the Duke of Wellington or Napoleon, musters troops and resources to overcome the various obstacles in their path before their armies clash in an epic battle over 3 farms forward of the ridge at Waterloo: Hougoumont, La Haye Sainte, and Papelotte. I think that's how it was pronounced. I'm not completely up on my Waterloo pronunciations. Every beautiful card in the game is inspired by a real person or event from the time, with a focus on quick tactical play and a thematic reimagining of the events of the time. The game is non-collectible, and there is no deck building required. Each player simply grabs their deck and shuffles, and then play begins. A note about the title: though not an accurate description of their formidable fighting prowess, Wellington himself referred to his men on more than one occasion as scum of the earth. The French system of conscription brings together a fair sample of all classes. Ours is composed of the scum of the earth, the mere scum of the earth. It is only wonderful that we should be able to make so much out of them afterwards. There is a quick Kickstarter video. Let's take a peek. $18.15 Scum of the Earth is for 2 players. Although I do want to point out, if you get 2 copies of the game, there is also a Marshall Ney and a Blucher card in the mix, so you can actually play up to 4 players. The game is for ages 10 and up. That sounds a little weird. I mean, this is a war game. Okay, 10 and up. And plays in about 30 to 60 minutes. Right now, you can reserve a copy of the game for a $44 pledge through April 16th with an expected delivery of next March. So I noticed that Grade A was pointing out that Tristan Hall, who is the designer of this game, and actually is the force behind All or Nothing Productions. I know that I did a news piece about St. Elmo's Pay because it looked pretty interesting. And once again, this has some pretty cool artwork on the cards. I'm trying to remember if I did a news piece about 1066 when it came out. Maybe not. This does look really interesting. I got to be honest, though, for a card game, a $44 pledge plus you're going to have to pay for shipping. To me, it feels a little pricey. And yes, I know war games are a niche. Yes, I say it all the time. It's a niche of a niche hobby. So I do understand you're usually going to pay a little bit more for wargaming content. But like I said, it just feels like it's a little pricey. But I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from checking this out. All right, moving right along. This weekend, Games Workshop started taking pre-orders for a Warhammer Underworlds starter set. Here's the skinny. If you've been looking to dip your toe into the shade glass waters of Warhammer Underworld, the new starter set, which is up for pre-order, is the way to do it. Designed for the ground up to be the easiest, most accessible way to get involved, it includes everything you need to get started. Taking a peek at what's in the box, you'll discover why it's great for getting into the game. In Warhammer Underworlds, you take command of a warband of brave warriors, wizards, or even monsters, using your wit and skill to earn glory and ultimately defeat your opponent. This set contains 2 warbands cast in pre-colored plastic, which can be assembled in a matter of minutes without the need for glue, so you'll be ready to play in next to no time. First up is the Storm of Celestis, representing 3 mighty warriors of the Stormcast Eternals and their loyal Gryph-hound. They're a hard-hitting, flex-control warband, able to dominate the battlefield by holding objectives while punishing enemy fighters with their formidable ranged weapons. Their opponents in the starter set are Drapor's Wraith Creepers, formed of 4 Night Hunt Servants of Nagash. They fight best as an aggro warband, as they possess lots of ways to inflict damage upon their enemies and can use their spectral nature to drift through terrain and even enemy fighters. The 36-page booklet has been specially created to help you learn the basics of the game. One of the key differences between this and the complete rulebook is that it keeps the focus on the core gameplay, enabling you to get stuck in and crumping each other's warbands as quickly as possible. The Warhammer Underworld starter set really's got everything you need to start playing the game within minutes of opening the box. If you've yet to try this fast, fun, and furious skirmish game, be sure to pre-order the starter set and give it a go. There is a short video, little intro video, which strangely enough, I got my copy of it. It's got no sound, and I didn't realize there's no sound to it until seconds before I started the stream. So usually in a situation like this, I would talk over the video, but I don't have it set up that way. So for about the next, 80 seconds or so, it'll be quiet. The starter set is for 2 players, ages 12 and up. Each battle should play out in about 30 to 45 minutes. And this starter set carries an MSRP of $60. So W Forge is saying, did anybody lose audio? Somebody wasn't paying attention. I pointed out the video did not have audio. And I didn't realize that until seconds before I started the stream. So anyway, so W Forge is like, oh, wait, no, forget it. I got audio again. Yeah, it was just the video, gang. It was just the video. So we had quite a few people popping up into chat. So All or Nothing Productions popped in for a moment and then pointed out that it's 1 a.m. or past 1 a.m. They're across the pond. So they were off. But we've got Flaming Huron has joined us. The Madman is with us as well. And who else did I see pop in here? Omanal. There we go. Omanal is also with you, with us in chat as well. Very cool. Very cool. So, yes, once again, this carries an MSRP of $60 if you missed out on that. And pre-orders are open right now. I don't have an exact release date, but from what I've seen in the past, and I point out all the time, I am not necessarily all up on Games Workshop stuff. But usually when they do a pre-order, the actual release is actually pretty quickly after that. I've seen it where they start doing pre-orders and then they release it like a week or two later. So it's kind of like, wow, got pretty short pre-order period. All right, so let's keep moving on with the news. Let's talk about some role-playing games because there is a new RPG which looks perfect for the family or for those who are looking for a less dark setting, a lighter setting. It's not a grim, dark role-playing game by any stretch. I am talking about Wanderhome. Here's the dope from Possum Creek Games. Wanderhome is a pastoral fantasy role-playing game about traveling animal folk, the world they inhabit, and the way the seasons change. It's a game filled with grassy fields, mossy shrines, herds of chubby bumblebees, opossums in sundresses, salamanders with suspenders, starry night skies, and the most beautiful sunsets you can imagine. You might be a tamarin who dances with small and forgotten gods, a leporine mail carrier who relies on moths to get packages where they belong, a little lizard with a big heart and a mysterious past, or a near endless number of other thrilling possibilities. No matter what, we're always travelers, animal folk who go from village to village and get to see the length and breadth of all the world of Heath. Or Heath? Heath? I don't know. It's a little difficult to tell how it's pronounced. It's H-A-E, and the A and the E are combined. T-H. The seasons will change as we play, and we will change with them. Wanderhome makes use of a unique game system inspired by the No Dice, No Masters engine, developed by Avery Adler and Benjamin Rosenbaum for Dream Askew and Dream Apart. Each player will make a character with the help of one of 15 possible playbooks, making choices about their personality, animal form, look, and passions. Each of these playbooks give you a radically different approach, both to navigating the setting and growing over time. From the carefree ragamuffin, that sounds like me, to the introverted poet, from the guardian and their young ward, to the lonely exile, from the cheerful dancer to the moody veteran, there is plenty of space in Wanderhome to imagine every possible world that lives in your heart. Once you've created your character, you and your fellow travelers guide them through the dreamlike pastoral world of the Heath game world. Through the game world, there are no dice in Wanderhome. Instead, you can inconvenience yourself or step outside your comfort zone in order to get tokens, and then turn around and spend those tokens to tackle larger problems and help make the world a better, kinder space. The 300 plus page hardcover can be ordered for $60. The softcover is available for $45, or you can grab the PDF alone for $25 at the Possum Creek Games website. I thought this was an interesting looking game, even though I can't pronounce the name of the game world. I thought this looked kind of different. And because, you know, there's so much like grim, dark role playing out there. And it's always nice to share something that, and I think the artwork is really, really well done. That was something else that really caught my eye. So I did want to share this with you. I really don't know anything about Possum Creek Games at all, but I did want to share this. So Grade A is saying that Curse City Warhammer games sold out within a day or two. Huh. That's interesting. I know there's actually, we were talking about, of course, Warhammer Underworlds. I think there's been other sort of like starter sets in the past for that as well, but I don't know. So Sarah says, this looks neat, but I don't want to deliver mail in a game too. Well, I guess we know what Sarah does. So, well, you don't have to use that playbook. Gee whiz. Next up, Columbia Games is kickstarting a line of hardcover releases for the acclaimed Harn role-playing setting. Here's the scoop on Kingdom of Kaldor. Kaldor is the first of 9 different fantasy kingdoms printed in a beautiful hardcover format. Each kingdom is filled with political and player maps, detailed heraldry and genealogies, statistics on military resources, and prominent noble families. The Kaldor book also contains the highly detailed city of Tashal. The kingdoms of Harn are widely recognized as some of the best writing and maps in fantasy role-playing game history. This Kickstarter is also your opportunity to dive into Harn World, the most detailed fantasy role-playing world ever created. For just $1, you can get Harn World, Harn Decks, and its beautiful map that normally sell for about $100. All right, let's be honest. This is PDF, right? PDFs are not $100. This RPG world setting supports a wide breadth of character and campaign styles, from high fantasy to dark and realistic terror. Everything is blended into a believable world that gives GMs years of campaign material. You'll get a PDF download link for Harn World soon after pledging. You can start using those materials right away, and if you like what you see, you can return to Kickstarter and change your reward level to reserve the limited edition hardcover Kingdom of Kaldor. Game Masters can use Harn World with any game system, including Dungeons & Dragons, The Fantasy Trip, Pathfinder, GURPS, Fate, and others. A vibrant community of Game Masters and players who are passionate about Harn also thrives online. Harn World is a medieval world, loosely equivalent to 12th century Norman England, but with significant elements of fantasy added. The result is a world that keeps players grounded in reality. GMs can weave magical and fantastic campaigns within a natural, plausible setting. Players respond to this, and it affects their attitudes and decisions. Encounters become thought-provoking and carry emotional weight. Combat has consequences and is taken seriously. There have been over 4,500 pages and 1 million words published to support the Harn World setting. New supplements and maps are published every few months. Welcome to Harn, where the fantasy is real. There is, once again, a short Kickstarter video. Most of these Kickstarter videos lately are about a minute long, so it's not a very long video. But we'll take a peek to get a better look at the Kingdoms of Kaldor Kickstarter.
Venture into Harn World, the most intricate, expansive, and realistic medieval fantasy role-playing world ever created, with Kingdoms of Harn. For the first time, these classic pages of adventure compile into a sturdy hardback format. These tomes of medieval fantasy will be motivating for you to dream up fresh adventures within convenient reach of your fingertips. Kingdoms of Harn is the beginning of a collection of different kingdoms within the medieval fantasy setting of Harn World. Each kingdom has its own history, rivalries, culture, and political intrigue. A framework for compelling adventure and immersive storytelling is provided while leaving game masters infinite room for their own creativity. These strands that unite storylines are the reason so many game masters prefer Harn World over any other fantasy setting. The Harn World setting supports a wide breadth of character and campaign styles, from high fantasy to dark and realistic. Everything is knitted together into a believable environment that gives GMs years of material to play with. Starting from a bird's eye view, you can drill down, layer by layer, to city streets, specific buildings, interior plans, and resident biographies, providing endless opportunities for adventure and intrigue. The Harn World setting has been enjoyed by thousands of role players worldwide. There are over 1 million words in print and 4,500 pages of material in an ever-expanding environment like none other. You will also find a vibrant online community of game masters and players who are passionate about Harn. Go forth now and command your kingdom on Harn World, where the fantasy is real.
This Kickstarter project is over 500% funded. You can reserve a copy of the hardcover Kingdom of Kaldor for a $49.99 pledge through April 22nd. Expected delivery is a pretty quick turnaround. It's expected to be delivered this July. So very cool. I know we were talking about this Kickstarter last week, so I did want to officially share a news piece about it. So I'm very glad to see Columbia Games taking some of their content and putting it into hardcover releases. I got to be honest, I don't know. I don't think Harn World or Harn Decks are in hardcover. And those are kind of sort of like core books. Because Harn is really a setting. Harn's really not necessarily a role-playing game system per se. But I got to say, it's a 130-page book. $50. That is super pricey. Super pricey. I know people were complaining about Wizards of the Coast and their last release, talking about how Candlekeep Mysteries clocked in at, what was it, 192 pages off the top of my head. It didn't crack 200. And people were really upset that it was $49.99 or $95, what have you. So I don't know. I got to be honest. I mean, the Harn stuff is very cool. By all means, check out the Kickstarter, spend $1 and get a bunch of the Harn stuff for you to check out. I do know that Columbia Games tends to have this offer for $1 with many of their Kickstarters that they do for Harn. So it's not something that you're only going to be able to jump on this time, but for $1, it's a pretty sweet deal. And a Grade A says that they've seen a copy online and the production quality looks great with thick, well-printed pages. But that might just be a printer's proof copy. So a lot of times proof copies have much thicker paper stock than the actual finished product. I don't know. I haven't seen this. But so Flaming Heron says, I suppose we're paying for quality. Hey, once again, I am telling you that the Harn stuff from Columbia is very, very cool stuff. Really well done. I don't know if it's the most detailed fantasy role-playing setting, because I think Glorantha from Greg Stafford that he was working on for over 40 years, I think there might be more out for that. So Grade A says, Ardwolf did a page through of it. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I did Ardwolf's Lair, if I remember correctly. I think that's the channel. Yes, I think Ardwolf follows me on Twitter, because I know every once in a while they comment on stuff. All right, so final news piece. Flying Buffalo Games is releasing a solo Tunnels and Trolls adventure book that's been out of print for quite a while. Here's the skinny on When the Cat's Away. 3 solo adventures in one 80-page book. Out of print for many years and now available on Drive-Thru RPG. When the cat's away in your first adventure, you are an apprentice to Servald the Wizard, who has left you alone in his sanctuary while he's out on business. Sounds a little like Mickey. Apprentice Mickey Mouse, eh? For the first time, you have a chance to really explore the place. What mischief can you get into before he gets back? And will you survive long enough to find out? Then there's Sorcerer Solitaire 2. The Aged One sends you out on a quest to the cursed Veining House in search of the Princess Nanis and to solve the riddle of what happened at this dark place 50 years ago. There are great magical treasures and just as many evil guardians hidden in the old ruin. Can your wits and magic succeed where others have failed? Then finally, there's Solo for the intellectually challenged. You are a peasant tending a flock of sheep when you find a cave in the mountains. The cave looks as if it's filled with dangerous magic, so you decide to go in. Are you stupid enough to survive this ultimate Solo parody? Plus, the artwork in this book has been, upgraded. There's a historical essay about the solos of this era. And there's also the classic 5th edition blank TNT character sheet. This book contains 3 adventures for use with Tunnels and Trolls. First 2 solitaire adventures are suitable for low and mid-level magic using humanoid characters with adds of 10 to 45. The 3rd solitaire adventure is for any beginning character. Of course, you'll need the Tunnels and Trolls or Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls rules to play these adventures. These adventures were all originally designed for 5th edition TNT, which I think they're 7th edition now. Or I think they just call it Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls now, but I think it is like 7th edition. The 80-page PDF of When the Cat's Away is available at Drive-Thru RPG for $4.99. So there's some discussion about Tunnels and Trolls. So yes, Agrade's talking about the Tunnels and Trolls app, which is out there. I remember back when Rick Loomis was still alive, I was at a Gen Con, and they were trying to get us to sit down to check out the app, and we were like so pressed for time. We were like right in the middle of going from one interview to another interview, so we never had a chance to check it out. But I know that there was talk that they were going to release adventures on the app from time to time, and that they were going to utilize a lot of the solo Tunnels and Trolls adventures out there. So, don't know. So yes, so the Tunnels and Trolls solo adventures are along the lines of the create your own adventure books, where it kind of gives you a choice. But then, of course, you do have the like combats and things like that. I know Steve Jackson Games did this with their Fantasy Trip role-playing game, although the Tunnels and Trolls solo stuff came out long before the Fantasy Trip. So a great A's talking about the app, and W4 just say, well, yeah, if I screw up, make a wrong move, I'll just, redo my decision like everybody did in this Create Your Own Adventure books. And a great A says, in the app, you don't get to do a do-over. I remember, I'm curious if the final chapter ever came out there was another Steve Jackson, who I believe this Steve Jackson was British, and he did, I don't think it was Fighting Fantasy. It was one of those like British role-playing games, and they did an app-based kind of like, solo adventure too. And I checked out the first one. For some reason, I want to say it was called Survive, but I'm probably wrong. It was actually pretty good. I never finished it because I kept getting killed. I was like, yeah, okay. Kept getting in this cave, and you couldn't see, and it was like, all right, well, we're going this way. So Great Ace says Fighting Fantasy. Maybe it was Fighting Fantasy. But it's Sorcery. It's Steve Jackson's Sorcery is what it's called. That's what it's called. And they had the first 2 chapters, and I think there was a third, but I'm not sure if that ever came out. So I don't know. Anyway, we were just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. And of course, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, are affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, I don't know, Drive-Thru RPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com. First, click on one of our banner ads. And that way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a little portion of that sale. And all those little portions, those nickels, dimes, and quarters, do add up and really do help keep thegaminggang.com around. So, and a lot of people use those links, and I really, really do appreciate it. So, Grade A says, Fighting Fantasy is a series of single-player role-playing game books created by Steve Jackson. Yes, and Ian Livingstone. Yes, I remember that. Yes, yes. So, Flaming Heron says, Sorcery is 3 games, which is the 4 books of the series. That's kind of funny, right? We're going to take the 4 books and we're going to make them into 3 games. Now, if it was Hollywood, they would take the 4 books and make them into 6 movies. So, cool. So it was Fighting Fantasy. I was trying to remember, because if I remember correctly, because I had it for the PC, and I don't recall like Fighting Fantasy being like prominent. It was more Steve Jackson's Sorcery was the big, what was prominent about it. All right. Anyway, hopefully everybody had a great weekend. I had a pretty good one. We had a party for my nephew Cameron, who's shipping out tomorrow for basic training for the Air National Guard. So we did that on Saturday, although it rained and it was awful. It was just terrible out. I mean, it was pouring at some points. And of course, it was all supposed to be outside. So we were all in the garage. So Grady's talking about the Lone Wolf books. Yes. Now I'm trying to remember the author, because I met Joe Devers. I met him at Gen Con. He was very, very nice. I did not get an opportunity to interview him, and he passed away between then and the next Gen Con, because I know Dominic McDowell kept saying, "Hey Jeff, you really should interview Joe. He's really a great interview." And I did talk to him for about 10 minutes. I just didn't do the interview. So Grady says, R.I.P., rest in peace, Joe. Like I said, he was very, very nice. I mean, let's be honest. Most of the people involved in the tabletop gaming industry are all nice. Not every single one, but a vast, vast majority of them are. All right. So if you tuned in a little bit late, I do want to mention there are a couple of reviews that popped up yesterday. So I did my video review of Osric version 2.2. And that is, like I said, it's my video review. And Sammy did a written review for Dune Adventures in the Imperium. So if you are interested in the new role-playing game from Modiphius Entertainment, we've got one of the first reviews out there. So definitely check that out. And I like what Sammy had to say. It was very, very interesting. So I'll let you read it. I mean, it's not like, oh my gosh, it's fantastic, you got to get it. Then again, it's not, well, this isn't any good. So reading the review will probably give you an idea if it's for you or not. So Flaming Heron says, what is new is old. New Fighting Fantasy books and Lone Wolf ones are being done, and they still reproduce the older ones. Nice. Very cool. I was going to say they still have, I think Cubicle 7 is still producing the Lone Wolf adventure game, the role-playing game. So Flaming Heron is asking if a Grade A's got the 5e Lone Wolf RPG. I wasn't familiar with that. I have no idea what that is. All right. So, as I mentioned in the open, tonight I am going to unbox and take a first look at 2 expansions for AEG's Warchest. We're going to be looking at Nobility, which has already been out. And we also have Siege, which is on the horizon. I believe this is coming out in the next week or so. It might even be in some stores already. I don't know. Both of these are actually designed by Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson. Nobility carries an MSRP of $24.99. Siege carries an MSRP of $29.99. But AEG's website is right now selling it for $24.99. If you're not familiar with Warchest, it is a 2 or 4 player abstract war game, abstract medieval war game. I enjoy it. I think it's a cool game. I like it. You can check out, I've done a video review of it, and we actually played it during the last charity stream that we did for Extra Life for Kids, which was not this past November because we didn't do that because of COVID, but it was a year ago this past November. So if you like, check it out. Let's swing on over to the other camera because I've got the 2 expansions sitting here. I'm going to move this out of the way. So we're going to take a look at this one. I'm just going to get the shrink off of it. So it says for Nobility, the chivalric system was a huge part of medieval warfare, and now it's time for you to prove your credentials with Nobility. Various offices of state were handed out to the highborn of the land, from bannermen that surrounded kings and queens to earls and heralds enacting their liege's will across the realm. Bishoprics had much land and influence associated with them and were sought after positions for nobles. Can you add these 4 influential figures to your force to once again triumph in this masterful game of tactical warfare? So let's see what we've got. So we have these kind of like bookcase boxes here, which are kind of cool. I like them. One thing I have to mention, though, is with my copy of Warchest, even with the plastic covering on it, like see that we got a covering over this to hold the forces. They're like poker chips, and they're made of the same kind of graphite material as poker chips, and never fails. They still end up getting all mixed up. So it's like, damn it. All right. So we've got a couple of punch boards with some new tokens here for the 2 forces. So we have one which is kind of a wolf. And then we have another which is a bird. So those are our 2 forces. So one other aspect of Warchest is that it's almost like a bit of a bag building game as well, because you have to actually recruit your forces and place them in the bag. And then you have to kind of like pay for your reinforcements. It's been a while since I played. It's been over a year since I played it. So, all right. Anyway, so there is quite a bit of discussion about Lone Wolf in chat right now. So taking a look here, we've got the Nobility expansion. So we have a Royal Decree card. So we have a new card for the Royal Guard unit. That's from the base game. So we get, it's talking about setting up. And this is actually, we've got a setup inspired by the Battle of Bosworth Field. That's something else I thought was kind of interesting with Warchest, was that you got some like kind of example scenarios, because these are your units. These are your forces. So, and of course, you know, just like so you can stack and things like that. But it's a very abstract game, but there were still, I thought it was kind of funny, there were in the rule book, there were still like examples of like famous medieval battles and what you would use. So here, for an example, they're saying the Lancastrian units, you would use an Earl, Herald, Mercenary, and Pikeman. And for the Yorkist units, you'd use bannermen, cavalry, knights, and swordsmen. So we've got that. All right, so let's zoom in. Get a better look at these units. And then we've got their cards. So we got some Royal Decree cards. So I believe these are the Royal Decree cards here. And then we've got the unit cards. So like chess, your units all have specific moves that they can make. It's all they can do is they can make these moves. So I will go through these units in a second, but let's take a look at these Royal Decrees. So it looks like you draw one for your game. So here we have guard, attack with a friendly unit that's on a location you control. Spy, look at an opponent's hand. You may discard one of their coins. If you do, they draw a new coin. There is redeploy, remove a friendly unit from the board and then deploy it. March, move a friendly bolstered unit. Reinforce, take one of your coins that have been removed from play and place it in your supply. Enlist, you can recruit twice. That's when you're putting units into your bag. And sacrifice, attack with a friendly unit, then remove a coin from the friendly unit. So these are, I guess, like just special abilities. So Grady is pointing out that the hardcover edition of Lone Wolf number 18 Deluxe goes for $270. Holy jamoly. Yikes. Although, okay, so I have to admit, when I was buying my first edition AD&D books, I did not go that high. Although I really, really did want to get the deities and demigods that has Elric and Cthulhu and Fafhrd and Grey Mouser. But for a nice looking copy, they were like $300, and I was like, I can't. I'm never going to use these books anyway. So it's like, I just kind of want to have them for nostalgia. So I just couldn't pull the trigger on that. All right, so we got the bishop. This is the bishop right here. So it's showing that we get 5 of these. So that's another aspect of Warchest is when you get these units, and there's ways that you can play where you just have the deck of these cards and you just randomly deal out 4 of them. And that's the units you have to play with. So another aspect is that you may have fewer or you may have more. So usually there's like 5. Sometimes there's only 4. So as I see here, there's only going to be 4 of those. So the bishop is able to recruit and then either move or attack. So when you activate your bishop, when it's on the board, and it's just a hexagonal, it's just a hex board. Just like so. You see it right here, kind of. So that's what you get to do when you activate that unit. What else we got here? Let's see. We've got the Earl. My name is Earl. So this is the Earl here. And it says they control a location and then proclaim without placing a seal, even if the decree already has your seal. That must be something new. This is something about these royal decrees here. So that is the Earl. Next, we've got the Royal Guard. That's a new card. The Royal Guard's actually from the core game. So this is an upgrade to that unit there. We've got the Herald. This is the Herald right here. And it can bolster one adjacent unbolstered friendly unit with a coin from the supply. So essentially bolstered means you've got a stack, that you've got more than one unit that's bolstered. So essentially what the Herald's going to do is it's going to count as bolstering an adjacent unit without that actually being bolstered. If it's not bolstered. So that's the Herald. And lastly, we have the Bannerman. This is where this one only has 4. It says, after the Bannerman maneuvers, you may move one adjacent enemy unit 1 space. So after the Bannerman moves, which it moves 1 hex, you can move one adjacent enemy unit 1 space. So I guess they push them back. So we've got that. Man, you guys are really into Lone Wolf, which is fine. I reviewed it. I reviewed the role-playing game for Cubicle 7. So I thought it was good. I thought it was a nice introductory role-playing game to get people's feet wet in the hobby. All right, so here we got Siege. This is the one that's coming out very shortly. So let's take a look at what we got on the back here. Not all battles are fought on the open field. In many cases, defenders hide behind the thick walls of mighty castles. Now's the time to prepare for siege. As castles grew larger and stronger throughout the Middle Ages, new ways evolved to scale, knock down, and even undermine their walls. In Warchest Siege, you'll be confronted with fortified locations. Fear not, you have siege towers and trebuchets at your disposal, and hardy sappers to both build your own fortifications and undermine your opponents. Can you successfully return to the battlefield with your war engines in this ingenious and engaging game of tactics and strategy? So, Disavowed says Siege is available at retailers. So there you go. So it is out in stores. I thought I had seen I thought a distributor was saying it was hitting stores. Thought it said April 18th, but once again, sometimes the distributors, yeah, they're not exactly right. So we're going to get 4 new units, and we're going to get a new marker, obviously enough, fortifications. And these boxes are actually cool with the little magnetic closure. I remember AEG did this with Lovecraft Letter. That was the first time they did something like that, a box that had that kind of magnetic closure. So we've got the Siege expansion rules here. So it's showing fortification locations on the board. Talking about the setup if you're only using this expansion. How to play with the new content with fortifications. Talking about siege tactics as well as frequently asked questions. And then setups inspired by famous battles. Here we have the Battle of Zhengyang, which was the Mongols and China. So that's kind of interesting. And it's showing light cavalry, a trebuchet siege tower, and then sappers, pikemen, marshals, and crossbowmen. There we go. So Great Ace is saying that they'd like to see a smaller Titan with poker chips. That would be pretty cool. Although I got to admit, I have never played Titan. And I know, didn't Titan originally come out from Avalon Hill? If I remember correctly. So these are fortification maps. Oh, okay. So you're going to shuffle these up. And if one of the sides has fortifications, it's going to show where those fortifications are. So I see that both sides of these are the same. I thought maybe they'd be different colors that determine who owned that fortification. All right, so we've got this little small deck of cards. All right, and then we've got the new units. So we have the War Wagon. There are 4 of these. And their siege tactic is to move an adjacent friendly unit and then move the War Wagon into its vacated space. Okay. We've got the Sapper right here. says when the sapper moves to a location without a fortification, you may place a fortification from the supply on the location. And their siege tactic is to move and then attack a fortification. Next, we got the siege tower here. So their siege tactic is they get to attack twice. It says when you deploy the siege tower, you may immediately bolster it with a coin from the supply. And then we've got the trebuchet. Attack a unit 2 or 3 spaces away in a straight line. The intervening spaces may be occupied by a unit. And it says the trebuchet can only attack by using its tactic. Very cool. Flaming Heron's like, I'm glad you're reading the cards, Jeff. I had to squint my eyes. They actually, I got to be honest, the print is kind of small on these. Not horribly small, because if it was horribly small, I wouldn't be seeing it either. All right, so those are the units for Warchest Siege. So we had Siege, and we also had Nobility. And of course, I will, I'll do a review. I'm going to actually do a review video for both of these together. So yeah, you know what? Let me see something here. I'm going to say, I don't think it was out of focus. Yeah, I got to point out, the Panasonic G85 does not have the greatest autofocus around. Anyway, okay, so the text was kind of blurry. All right, let's see something here. All right, so zoomed in as close as I could get. And what I'll do is, if you would like, real quick, I'm just going to show these again so you can kind of get an idea. Because that looks like that should be in focus. So that's the trebuchet. We got the siege tower. We got the sapper and the war wagon. Those are the units from the siege expansion. So we've got those right there. And then we have the new card for the Royal Guard. So these are from the core game. So the core game had the Royal Guard, so we don't have new ones. Oh, forgot. We also had the fortification chips from Siege. And then we've got the Bishop. We have Bannerman. We've got the Herald. And we also have the Earl. So these are the forces that come in the Nobility expansion. Got these right here. And of course, we've got the Royal Decree cards, which come in the Nobility. And then we have the fortification maps. These cards come in Siege. And once again, each of these expansions is available for $24.99. I do want to point out that Siege indicates that it's $29.99 on the website, but it's for a limited time. It's $24.99. So if you're ordering them through AEG. All right. Once again, as I mentioned, I will be doing a bit of a review, but I'm gonna do both of them together, and of course, I will bust out Warchest. So that is that. So that's our first look at both Warchest Nobility and Warchest Siege, both available from AEG, both you can get right now for $24.99. All right, on tomorrow's show, I am going to unbox and take a first look at King of Tokyo Dark Edition from Yellow Games. On Wednesday's show, as I reach over and grab all this stuff, Wednesday's show, I am going to unbox and take a first look at Commands and Colors Samurai Battles. I know a lot of people are looking forward to this game as well. It's got 40 scenarios in it. So very, very cool. The one thing that is kind of a bummer about the Commands and Colors series is the stickers. It's like you got to sticker all of the blocks, and you got to be super careful to make sure that they're kind of lined up. Then on Thursday's show, we're going to take a look at Polyversal from Collins Epic War Games. This is a 6mm science fiction miniatures game. And we are going to be taking a peek at this. This is written by a pal of mine, Byron Collins. So we're going to take a look at this on Thursday's show. All right, that is it for this time out. Of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the dispatch airs live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube. I'll also tell you when what in the world happened there? What's going on? It's like, what the hell? I didn't touch anything. I was reaching over to grab the Osric book, and all of a sudden it goes back to the overhead camera. Maybe it's a ghost. Or maybe it's one of the ladybugs. I don't know. So Grady's like, Polyversal came out? Yes. Yes, it finally did. I know. Yeah. I think the main reason it was taking so long for Byron to fulfill the Kickstarter was because he had deals with all of these different miniatures manufacturers. And I think that was a mistake because he had to sit there and, he was at the whim of some of these, studios. So if they didn't have the product, he was stuck waiting. So Agrede says that Byron was designing a World War II Italy invasion game that Agrede's been waiting for like 8 years. Are you talking about Frontline General? Because I know he did the Eastern Front and he did a Western Front. And I thought he was talking about doing the Italy game, but yeah, that was a long time ago. That was quite a while ago. Anyway, so as I was saying, not only if you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel will you know when the dispatch streams live, you'll also know when I upload other videos, such as my review of Osric version 2.2 from the first edition Society. So Agrede says, no, this was a game before Frontline General. Huh. Because I know Frontline General was a traditional hex and counter war game, and then he came up with the concept for the card game, and he released those two. And then, of course, Polyversal was what he worked on for years. Anyway, Byron's a good guy. I always like talking to him when I go to Origins. All right. Anyway, those of you out there who are watching live, thank you very much. I always appreciate it. Of course, I know there's folks out there who watch after the fact. They don't have an opportunity to watch live. I certainly have a soft spot in my heart for you folks as well. I really appreciate anybody who wastes time following me. I don't know. It's just fun. Anyway, everybody enjoy the rest of your Monday night, Tuesday morning, or whatever day it's been. And of course, I will be back tomorrow. And as I wrap up all my videos during this never-ending pandemic, I always hope every one of you out there is being smart and staying safe. See, and then I try to end the video and it doesn't move. What's going on? It's haunted. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, if you haven't subscribed to the Gaming Gang channel yet, click right here. If you'd like to see the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, click right up there. And if you want to trust YouTube's algorithm to give you something to watch, click right there. Once again, thanks so much for watching, and everybody please wear a mask.